My name is Mark. This is Zen Talk. The topic is Crisis of Faith. All right. So Buddhists are taught to have faith in the three gems, sometimes called the three jewels. The three gems are the Buddha, which is the fully enlightened one, the Dharma, the teachings expounded by the Buddha, and the Sangha, which would be the monastic order of Buddhism that practiced the Dharmas. This could also be your teachers or Zen center, sometimes your fellow practitioners. Now, there are three different levels of understanding of these things. There's the external, internal, and the esoteric. So people will go through all three levels of understanding through their development of their studies. It's not to say not everybody will be at the same place at the same time. So you will often find that one person's understanding of these issues will greatly different than another's because they are at different places of their levels of understanding. Okay, so let's also now talk about the precepts. Generally, in Buddhism and with Zen, same thing. You would have 5 precepts, sometimes 10. I've seen 12, and there's 17 for other places. But generally, the first 5 precepts are the most common, which is to refrain from killing, refrain from stealing, refrain from lying, refrain from improper sexual conduct, and refrain from intoxicants. Again, there are 3 levels of understanding of these, the external, internal, and esoterically. And what I mean by esoterically is more of a spiritual level. And again, you may find people who will have different views of these precepts depending on what level they are at. So this is something that you absolutely have to be aware of when you are studying Buddhism, or actually this could be any religion, but you will find that people will have these 3 levels of understanding, and they will be at different places at this than you are, than everybody else is. And this can lead to confusions, when somebody says, well, does killing mean of animals, or does killing mean of thoughts, or does killing mean of, only humans, or, should I be vegetarian? What about fish? So there's a lot of questions about people can come up with. Okay, so having said those things about the 3 refuges and the precepts, we get into the roots. And there's an old saying within Zen that you must first have great faith, which is usually talking about the 3 gems, which would be we'll go back real quick. So you have to have great faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And this is probably more of an external faith, as well as budding into the eternal internally. So externally, that the Buddha, the enlightened one, was not lying to you, that the Dharma, that the teachings that they have are true and sound, and that the Sangha, that the people that you're actually trying to talk to and learn this stuff from, that they're not there to deceive you. And internally, you will struggle with these things. The Buddha as into what exactly is the Buddha? Is the Buddha a person, or is the Buddha the more talking about the enlightened mind? Is the Dharma just words on a paper, or is the Dharma the truth coming from one soul, or is it just where is this coming from? And the Sangha, again, is more looking at it in the eternally of issues of trust, but also issues of, who are we? Are we a shared soul? Are we separate souls? What exactly is going on here? And then there's, of course, the esoteric. I'll get rid of my picture here. And when you're looking at the esoteric from a spiritual point of view, these things really start to come into question, as into one's faith. And this can also bring up a lot of crises of faith. So great doubt comes into play a lot of times when going into any sort of religious study. The doubts usually revolve around things of yourself. Can I do this? Am I understanding this correctly? Is this something that is for me? So there's most Zen students struggle with doubt, and a lot of them, that's where it ends, and they sort of never get past doubt. And a lot of times, this is where people will either stop showing up at a Zen center, or they just go off and go do something else. They'll start anew with somewhere else and have the great faith, because the faith is easy. That's just, I'll believe it and try. They get to the doubt, which gets pretty tough. And then the third is great determination, which is pushing through the doubt. And a lot of people don't get here at all. They quit when the great doubt gets too much. And we try to tell them, have courage, have strength to motivate, to encourage. And it's very rare that somebody has enough determination to push through their own doubts. So again, these three things come in the three different levels of externally, internally, and esoterically, where it's sort of like these three issues again, and these three factors again, sort of linked together. It's not something that, you can say I have great. You would go through this cycle multiple times with each of these different levels. All right. So when it comes to a crisis in faith, I have found that it boils down to three areas. A lot of times there's just external factors, a job or a job loss. One person's relationships, people just don't understand what the person's doing, or they feel that the person is out of touch. A family issues can definitely have a big play into one's ability to even live a spiritual life. And of course, politics. Politics can greatly shape things, and they always shape things. And sometimes a particular religious view is in favor and then falls out of favor politically. So external factors is a great reason that can bring up a crisis. And a lot of people who may venture into the path of Buddha or on the Zen method, due to these external factors, leave. They fall out of it, and I've seen that so many times. So there's also then internal factors. A lot of people will look at what the Zen method is presenting, and they have great doubts. If they could even do this, do they have doubt one's ability? Sometimes they doubt the teachings. Is these teachings real? What's the point of this? Is this something that is even for me, or is this just a bunch of spiritual hogwash? And they doubt the teachers. Are these teachers really looking out for me, or are they just executing a business plan, and I'm just a customer? These are legitimate questions, but they can also be poison issues too. So these are things that, again, you'll through each stage, you go through these things again and again and again. And then lastly, there's the esoteric factors. When one is starting to look at their own mind, and they see the reflections back, those reflections can be terrifying. They can be very scary. Things that people notice about themselves can be what they call soul shocking. So they lack courage. They need strong determination to push through their doubts, to push through their fears, to overcome the terrors, the monsters they see in their own mind. And again, I've met so many Zen students who just quit at this point when they see the monsters in their own mind, and they leave. So I really can't say that there is any solution for a crisis of faith. It comes at all different levels. The external factor, internal and esoteric, it comes at all different places, all different reasons, and all different situations. One person's crisis can definitely be different from another person's crisis. And there can be a lot of times external factors, political oppression or economic situations or wars or natural disasters can definitely cause for some external factors to be shared among many seekers of the path. But generally, when it comes to the internal and esoteric, those are very individual. But external factors can often do more to unify and lead to the strengthening of the internal and esoteric needs to push through. So sometimes the external factors can be a benefit, but when it comes to the internal and esoteric, that's where the great bulk of people end up quitting. So lastly, I want to talk about a refuge. Historically, seekers could take refuge in a place where they could devote themselves to study and contemplation of prayer. Some countries sponsor such places, others only tolerate them to a point, and some totally forbid and outlaw them altogether. The typical refuge would be like a monastery, pastoral services, and a hermitage. So a monastery would be more of a gathering of very devout spiritual seekers. You can have like a lot of Catholics would go to a monastery. I've actually, when I grew up, two of my friends went to become Catholic priest. One was he went into the seminary and became a Catholic priest, and another one she went into a nunnery, and that was very accepted when I was growing up, for that to be a valid path. Today, not so much, and the monasteries today struggle financially, and a lot of them cannot take new people. They're doing all they can to just service their existing residents. So then the next one is pastoral services. A lot of people who are drawn to the spiritual life, who are wanting to serve, they go to Bible college or seminary schools or whatever, and so they enter a pastoral services. And they take refuge in the churches, within the community that they serve, within that sort of life. And it can be a very rewarding life. It could also be a very, very difficult life for some. So this is more, I would say, more common these days, is to engage into pastoral services. And the last one is the hermitage, which is probably more what I am doing these days. And the hermitage is simply, you are devoting yourself to the studies without the support of a greater congregation or of a monastery. And these are generally people that have, they go out and they make money enough to just survive on, and their goal in life is to not make money. Their goal in life is not to accumulate things. So in my particular case, I can go out and make enough money every month to pay my rent and buy my food and pay my bills, and that's all I'm doing here. The rest of the time I devote to, my own studies and my own meditations and making videos. So that's pretty much the 3 types of refuge that people can do. And these, again, can all depend upon, where you live at, the culture, the politics, and overall society's view on these things. I can't help somebody who's in a country that has forbidden, outlawed things. And in some places where, like in Thailand, where the government sponsors it, I've known a lot of Westerners that have gone to Thailand to go study like that. So there are means and ways for things to happen for everybody, depending upon how, what they want to do. All right, so this is the end of my video. I thank you very much for taking the time of watching this. I hope there's something here that has helped you or given you some information or insight. All right, please remember to like and subscribe.